Hi, welcome to this presentation on the elements and structure of storytelling. What follows are a number of slides showcasing the essential ingredients and forms that you can use in helping you to tell your own stories in ways that will ensure that its message is clear, comprehensible, and engaging. Now just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Every story needs a subject, an area of focus. It's this subject that drives your choice of content for the story to help illustrate the points that you're trying to make. Begin by choosing your subject, or maybe your subject's being given to you ahead of time.
It's essential to know why your story is important to you and why you need to share it with others. Why does it matter? If your story doesn't matter to you, it won't ring true and it'll come across as shallow and inauthentic. You've got to have skin in the game, as it were, if you want others to engage with it.
It's important to know what the purpose of your story is. What is your overarching goal that you wish to achieve? This helps to guide you in telling the story. It gives you an objective, an endpoint to consider. Knowing who your audience is, their age, their income, their likes, their dislikes, their abilities, their limitations are all exceedingly important in storytelling. It'll influence your choice of language and the tone in which you speak to them. It's important to consider how you wish your audience to respond to your message. What actions do you want them to take? What do you want them to think, feel, or do based on encountering your story?
In telling your story, voice is an important consideration. How are you going to speak to your audience? Will you speak to them in the more personal and accessible first person, or in the more detached and objective third person?
Tone is more about how something is said rather than what is said. One's tone can be angry, authoritative, upbeat, impersonal, comical. There are a number of tones of voice that will affect how the story is received by your audience.
Mood relates to the overall feeling engendered by the story. It's the emotional content and psychological dimensions. Mood can be light, quirky, and comical, or it can be dark, brooding, and serious. This is brought about by a number of devices such as lighting, color, soundtrack, and, of course, voice.
Every good story has what's called a hook. It's a device that's used to bait or pique the audience's interest. It drives them forward to read or listen or watch more. It's that thing that makes you pick that special CD or book off the shelf. Think about it and consider what makes your story different.
Every story needs a title. It can act as a summary of the content, theme, or messaging of your story. It's one of the most important hooks that may tie into something peculiar or unique to your story and draw your audience in by sparking their curiosity to know more. You often start with a working title, and as your story and your understanding of it evolves, so too will the title.
Pacing relates to the speed or the timing of action in your story. Pacing can be very slow and deliberate, or it can be fast and furious. This is done through devices such as increased tempo in the music, jump cuts in the editing, and of course the action itself or the voice.
Economy in storytelling is crucial. What you leave out is every bit as important as what you include. TMI can fatigue your audience. You don't need to tell the entire life story of everyone. Begin at a time, place, location, and circumstance that introduces as many key details as possible. Put characters in situations that reveal aspects of their character without literally having to say it. The rule of thumb being, don't say it show it. Good stories feature complex characters with relatable traits, motivations, fears, dreams, and ambitions, etc. And these traits reveal themselves in how a character makes decisions and negotiates their way through their environment to pursue their quest. The protagonist, or main character, is at odds with antagonistic characters set on derailing their quest. Other characters are used as foils to reveal more about the nature and substance of the main character as they interact with them.
Every good story contains drama, even an autobiography. Think about your life, the ups and downs, the challenges and the triumphs. What things or people have been getting in the way of you getting where you need to go? Every good story needs a narrative arc that has its ups and downs.
Perfect lies are inauthentic, uninteresting, unreal, and hence unrelatable. Internal or external problems and challenges create conflict and prevent the main character from achieving their objectives. This generates interest. The hero's responses to these antagonistic forces reveals their character and shapes their transformation from one state of being to another. Stories affirming the challenges of personal growth are important to all of us. Every character has to undertake a literal or metaphorical journey of sorts in order to fulfill an overarching need. Those needs can be things like love, recognition, fame, fortune, or creative expression, just to name a few. Antagonistic events and characters often work to thwart the object or the progress of this quest. Every good story is like a roller coaster. It needs ups and downs to keep things exciting. The smile and frown of the masks of comedy and tragedy symbolize two very different trajectories in a character's journey. The smile traces the journey of a character who begins in high status, the perfect, enviable life. Then they lose it all, descending to their lowest point, and eventually, through great effort, manage to gain it all back. The arc of the frown symbolizes a journey where the character begins in low status, then enjoys a meteoric rise in power, wealth, success, etc., only to lose it all in the end. In each case, the characters end up where they started, having been much changed by their respective journeys. Bringing a character back to the start is a common trope in storytelling that shows how the characters have been transformed by the moral lessons learned along the way. The plot is the chain of cause and effect in your story that leads the main character and the story to its inevitable conclusion. It is the people, relationships, actions, and events exerting influence on the protagonist, revealing their true nature as they shape their choices and trigger subsequent events. It's a chain reaction that can be summed up as, this happened, and so this happened, which caused this to happen. Story catalysts are plot devices that use people or events that trigger the main character into taking particular actions that inevitably draw the character into their quest. It can be a cataclysmic event like a natural disaster, a personal or professional crisis. They can be anything that upsets the status quo of the main character's circumstances. They rock their world. Formulaic and predictable stories are uninteresting. Incorporate surprises. They can be whimsical, nonsensical and absurd, shocking and revelatory, or mind-numbingly terrifying. Whatever you serve up, it's best that it's unexpected and unanticipated. While we find comfort in the familiar, we're stimulated by novelty. Keep them guessing with plot twists that keep their minds active and their adrenaline pumping. Good stories build to a dramatic pinnacle called the climax, otherwise known as the turning point, where the story moves in one direction or another. The protagonist or hero is tested to their limit, and the consequences of their actions inevitably culminate in bringing their quest to its desired conclusion, or to a tragic end. The denouement follows the climax point in the story and helps to resolve all of the hanging questions, such as, will the hero triumph or fail in his or her quest? Will the guy get the girl? Will the evil villain triumph, or will truth and justice prevail. It's an unraveling or revealing of what the inevitable final outcomes of the plot will be. It's the final leg of the road in the audience's journey to the end. Good endings should resonate with emotion in your audience. It should leave them with feelings such as sadness, happiness, anger, desire, inquisitiveness, and so on. Endings that are confusing or that leave too many questions unanswered are generally unsatisfying. There's often a moral lesson in stories whose message becomes fully realized by the audience by the end of the story. Well, you can all breathe a sigh of relief, because this, in fact, is the end. No, seriously, it is. I'm done. I'm wrapping things up here. I just hope it was a little bit helpful, that you can use it in your own storytelling. Take care, bye-bye, and thanks for listening.